I hope you're doing well tonight. Peter Elder, 59 Dunning Avenue. I was just coming up here to say a lot. First, I couldn't be here last month for your meetings, but I wanted to make sure that I caught up with what the Historic Preservation Commission has been doing. We were honored to do 2 sites of the month the last 2 months. The first one we did was for the Department of Public Works, believe it or not, and we're very happy to do that. Just a quick sketch of what that was about. We were honoring the Department of Public Works because it has been around since 1905 when the village was formed, so it certainly qualifies in terms of time. But also many of the structures in the back behind Village Hall are actually well over 60 years old. The block building, we're not even sure exactly how old that is. But we do know that there was an expansion made in 1978. If you walk into the door that gets you into the area where Jake works, you'll see that on the wall to your left there's a plaque for 1978 that talks about the expansion there, and Mayor Johnville was the mayor then. So we do know some things about what happened, but there's surprisingly little documentation in Esther Dunn's book about the village DPW. I did, however, find one interesting reference that one of the first projects that the village DPW did was the sidewalks on Main Street. So 1906, so within a year, they were already planning and executing the sidewalks on Main Street. So, and from that point on, that's been one of the functions of the DPW, as I know you're all aware, as they put in miles, I think, at this point, of sidewalks throughout the village. So that was a really great thing to do. We were happy to honor them with that, and we got a great picture of all the guys, which also is one of the things that's kind of neat because you can see changes of the DPW staff throughout the year. I myself have been honored to know Dave Galeazzo, Bill Southwell, and Jake are the people that I've known I've been superintendent of public works throughout time. But also I really don't know a lot of the superintendents before them. But Lynn Barton did give me a really dense file folder of little tiny cards that are all the village offices going back to the beginning. So I'm trying to scan them in. It's been a chore, but eventually I will have some kind of lineage of all the different employees that the village has had. So it's really a good thing to recognize. And then the next month we recognize the cold storage building, the self-storage building down on North Avenue, and it's owned by Dimitri Stefanu right now. That building also has a very interesting history, and you'll see the sign in front of it right now. It was actually built in 1923, and I'm going to give you some names here of the people who worked together to build it. Louis Kittelberger, George Hosenfeld, William Stokes, George Dunn, Earl Wright, all names that you'll see pop up at that time in the era of the village. Believe it or not, that storage space provided for 50,000 barrels of apples and approximately 400,000 cubic feet of space at about 32 degrees temperature. The first year it said it was kind of slow, but then things started picking up by 1944, 1943, 44. But I did note that in the book, Esther Dunn's book, it says in 1930 and 31, the cherry picking and apple cooperative, they went out of business, but then the consolidation was made with Fairport Cold Storage, and then it continued on. So they did actually have some interesting times where they actually looked at how they could actually package cold storage. In one instance, they had an experiment that about 1925 that they tried to figure out how to better freeze cherries, and it was one of the first times that it happened in the entire United States. In about 1945, they had could handle 6,000 tons of frozen fruit, vegetables, and seafood. And in 1947, they could actually store 700 tons of cherries, 160 tons of apples, 140 tons of grapes, 210 tons of peaches, and 225 tons of prunes. That's a lot of fruit. So there's also an additional 24,000 bushels of capacity for apples and even carrots. So the building continued in that operation until about 1965. By that time it had kind of gone down out of business. Xerox rented it, and then from there, as I recall, it was kind of not used a lot when I was younger, and now of course it's been picked up by Dimitri, and it's been fabulously redone. He has a lot of storage units in there, and he has lofts in the top, and they are beautiful. We were given a tour. I'm sure if you guys asked him, he would give you a tour. And they are really nice and great views of the village, by the way, because you're getting pretty high up there. And you can see that section in the north section of the village. So those were our 2 sites of the month I just wanted to make sure about. The other thing is we are looking for new members. For those of you out there who are interested in historic preservation, we're losing members. We want to replace people and have other people on there that want to participate in the historical, the history of the village. We want to look at structures, but we're not really just structures. We also talk about people, programs, Main Street, North Avenue, South Avenue. So if you have a variety of interests, if you like architecture, then we're the place for you. So either give me a call, call the mayor, call Village Hall. We'll get you on board and have you working with that. We do have a lot of great programs that we do. We're working on a walking tour for the fall right now, and your ideas are welcome. So really are. Similarly, just as a small switch of gears, we're also looking for new members for the Parks Committee. So if you like our parks, we'd love to have you involved in that as well. Another good call with the mayor and myself, we can get you involved in that as well. And I know I've been taking a little bit of time, but the other thing I just wanted to do in October, the bid has some events coming up. We have a beer walk in Oktoberfest on October 15th, and of course the Trick or Treat Trail is coming up on the 29th. So take a look at the bid website. A lot of great events happening in the fall. And then, of course, in December, we have the White Christmas event, so we'll keep you updated about that. So, all right. But anyways, thank you. Just want to make sure you're updated about what we're doing. So, thank you.
Great. And it was very interesting. If everybody would stroll through Village Hall, the hallway, and look at the maps that are there.
They're awesome.
The maps of 1880 or 18, the 4 fountains that are at the intersection of North Avenue, South Avenue, and Main Street, which must have been a source in the village for water.
Yes.
Very, very interesting.
People would stop and actually use them. Some of those, we don't really know where a lot of those are. One was actually put in by the women's temperance movement. I have a picture of it. Lynn gave it to me. And it just sort of disappeared, but it's got a great story. It's got a great write-up. I'll share that with you sometime. But yeah, you're absolutely right. They had to have water, so the 4 corners was great. So you may not realize it, but there are aquifer maps, and just a little bit to the north of where this room is, there's an aquifer underneath Ridge Road. So you can sink a well there. What'll happen is though it'll probably end up being a little salty. You have to go through a salt layer first, but there is absolutely one there because I have the map of that aquifer. So expensive to sink the well. So
the incorporation of 1905, Webster Village area was busy long before that.
Oh yeah. The village was busy right from the get-go. I mean, the coach was one of the first structures. I know that Norm Brisson's house, I can't recall who lives there right now. Jerry Brown. Jerry Brown, right? Thank you. That house is really old. The rumors are that it's so old that its front is its back. We haven't been able to quite prove that yet, but it might be that there was a driveway, a very long one that went up to State Road. So it's not clear, but that is a very, very old house. So. But if you came here in 1820, you'd see just scattered buildings around, but you would see some of them that you'd almost recognize. So you would.
You'd be in Ontario County then.
You would be in Ontario County though. You'd be paying taxes to a different place and different exemptions, I'm sure. So. All right. Well, thank you. Have a great night.
Thank you.